Hello, Dan. I'm so excited to talk to you today.
Well, I'm very excited to be here with you.
This is going to be a great
You know, I
conversation.
love our
Yeah,
conversations.
we always have very good conversations, so I know this one won't be any different.
Great.
So, if you can tell viewers watching right now who you are, what generation you're from, and what you do at Hope Lab to start things off.
Sure. I'm Dan Cawley. I am from the baby boomer generation, though I would love to say I'm a millennial, but I really think that I'm
You
not.
can do a middle ground, it's
All
fine.
right. That would be kind. Most people would say, really, a baby boomer. And I'm the chief operating officer at Hopelab, which means that I help everybody do their job well by just making sure that things run so they can do it.
hmm So, I think today is going to be a great conversation, then, based off of the role you have at Hope Lab and also
Sure.
who you are as a person. So, to start things off, I'm going to ask you this question right here. How can you be intentional with your time and energy to improve your mental well being within your everyday life?
Time and intentional. So I feel like people often falter on this, and I am one of those as well.
Mhm.
So when I'm really at my best self, and I try to be, I'm quite intentional with my time and my energy. How it looks is that in the morning I sit down when I sit down and I'm now when I would have said when I get into the office and I sit down at work, but now it's much more when I get to the desk here at home and I sit down and I start to think, regardless of what anybody's asking me, what is it that I really want to get done today? How can I make sure that I'm intentional about that and have looked at my day to make sure that it works? Where would I do it? And when it's most effective is when I look at something and I break it down into discrete tasks and say, all right, I'm going to do it. Because if I say, oh my God, I have to get this done, it becomes overwhelming. And it's not helpful to me because the overwhelm just sends me into a tizzy and I start doing small things. Let me check my email. Let me do things that just basically burn through time. But if I say, all right, I need to get this done, I will take this hour to do it. It allows me to put everything away um, out of my mind and then focus on that. Some other tricks that I've done is when I'm in the moment and I'm in the middle of that and that something goes, oh my God, just writing that on a post-it note or something next to me so that it allows me to maintain my focus. And that thought that would have worried and been sort of the worm in your head has been set aside and you know that it's there and you can attend to it later.
Mhm.
When I'm really thinking about being intentional, like that's the mechanical way of doing it. Another one thing that I did that I've done with my kids ever since they were children. So when they would fall down, the first thing you do when you get into fright or you get into you hold your breath.
Yeah.
And so if you could actually take a moment and just go breathe, you can feel your whole body relax. You can take a moment and realize, all right, actually, I'm okay. There's nothing happening to me right now. What is it that I should be most concerned about? Because your brain can get you into a spiral and you will find your body constricting and your breath is withheld. And the more that you can continue to breathe, you will find your body relaxing. You will find your brain opening up. Um, and it allows me to stay focused and truly focused on what I want to be doing, hence the intention.
And when it comes to being intentional, is there a fine line between being organic with your time and like also being very critical and like writing everything down with time and schedules? What's the fine line and how do you separate that?
Isn't that the
Is
challenge?
it's a challenge for everybody.
So, do you know Myers Briggs, sort of this typing of how people are, whether they're introvert versus extrovert, whether they're a very concrete versus conceptual, whether they get they're thinking from thinking or feeling, or whether they like things in order or just sort of haphazard. I am extrovert, conceptual, feeling, and orderly. So, how I think to your question of how do you do it, I focus on orderly. So, All right, so let me see, what are the things that I need to get done and when do I need to get them done? And I generally take some time to do it. You will see that, and every day it's a new list. Never do the same list like you just go to yesterday's list.
What,
Um,
what
don't,
benefit
pardon me?
what benefit does that have of not doing the same list and switching things up?
What was important yesterday may no longer be important today. Um, you really should be writing down things that are important. Um, the things that you know that you're going to get done, don't write them down. Other than you like to just check it off or cross it out. If you get a buzz from that, that's great. But often that's, some people I know would write things down that they've already done just to cross it off. Like, okay, that's great. If that actually works for you, fantastic.
That's their drug of
I find that is their drug of choice. For me, it's really thinking about, okay, so I look a little bit ahead, like what should I be doing? Where do I need to be next week? Where do I need to be in a month? Is there anything I should be doing now? Great. Put that in. And I told you earlier, I break it down into discrete tasks so that I know, oh, this is the thing I should probably be doing now. And that's probably can wait till next. The other things can wait till weeks to come. Next, does somebody like, are there other important things that I should be focusing on, including me? So I'm talking to you somewhat in a work context, but I also, your list should be including you too, because you're just as important
yeah.
as all of those things that need to be there. And so if I need to be getting outside, if I need to be taking a moment to meditate, just focus, that should be on there as well. Um, I want to be frank that the whole writing down the meditation thing and taking time to do it is often one of the things that I quickly throw away when I get into a stress. But it nearly always is the thing that's like, oh, when I do it, things become easier to move through. It's just the same thing as breathing, right? It's all breathing, and so
It just happens organically.
it it is a virtuous cycle. The more that you do it, the more it frees up your energy. Like I don't know if you close your eyes and you start to breathe, your mind can go in different places. And
All
if you can
place.
always, right? The first things that often come up about, oh, I shoulda, coulda, woulda, right? Those, I should be doing this, I could have done that. I'm like, but if you can set that aside, because there's nothing you can do about that when you're sitting there breathing, then you can think about, oh my God, I feel the sun and the warmth on my body. That feels amazing. That reminds me of being on a beach. Oh, and the beach is where I actually like to go swim. I love being in the water. Like your mind goes to a much calmer, easier place. And then when you open your eyes, you feel like, okay, let's bring it on. It's energizing.
And one of the things that I feel is that a lot of people do is not making enough time for themselves and not holding themselves accountable for putting themselves on the list. There's a lot of work tasks, a lot of other tasks, a lot of commitments on the list. But the last thing is usually themselves. And one of the things that I really love about HopLab is we're constantly innovating ways to include time for ourselves, especially through our Nod app. We're holding ourselves accountable through prompts saying, go outside and meet a new friend, go make a new connection, go do this for yourself. So can you speak on any innovations that's coming through a HopLab right now when it comes to making time for ourselves and being intentional when it comes to energy and time being spent recharging ourselves?
Oh my gosh. You know, in my role, I focus on that a lot with the people and culture director, Brian, where he says, here's what I sense is going on. How might we free up some space? So for COVID, we knew that people were restricted in regard to, now they were home and they were home with their young kids. We need to give them time. We need to actually give them freed up time where they can just put it there, put it down, that they don't have to burn through their vacation or PT, pay time off or things like that. We give them a lot of time. We're just focused on getting the things that you need to get done. We value, so people talk about the work-life balance. There is no work life. It's your life. It's
Yeah.
just your life. And you need to do some things that you get paid for. And so so yesterday I had to do a whole bunch of things and incorporate into my day going to the office. Somebody has to go to the office every week just to check the mail. And I'm one of those people that is on a schedule. And I go, and in that moment, I realized, oh, I'm going to be, how might I incorporate things that would feed me into this chore that is part of the work? That's one way that I do it on a personal level. But from a company perspective, we do things like setting aside. One of the best things that we do is coming up. We close for the last 2 weeks of the year so people can replenish. We have a really big focus on replenishment. The time where you can get away, and everyone's getting away. Like when you take a day off and everyone's still working, you come back and you've got this much work. Like, wow, I just got punished for that time. But when everybody's off, you get the time to truly, truly disconnect.
Hmm.
Like I don't know about you, but when I go on vacation, and I generally go for 2 to 3 weeks. The first week, I'm still back in the old place, and it's the second week where it sort of tapers down in the first week, and the second week, I'm not even thinking about that. I'm truly opening up to what I really enjoy: exploration. Like, where am I going? How I like to travel. Difficult at the moment, but eventually I'll get back there and see new things. You can even do that in the neighborhood. Um, so, an example, I do schedule in my work week time to go for a walk. Like, so, and what I've been noticing is there's some interesting things. By the way, that's recent.
Yeah.
So, I've months of not doing that and realizing that I needed to do that. My neighborhood is amazing, and I didn't fully appreciate. And I go to down different streets now in order to appreciate that. That kind of thing is encouraged here. Um, One of the other VPs said to me, let's do a virtual walk together. So put our AirPods in and phoned each other, and we were walking in completely different neighborhoods, and we were just chatting, and it felt like I was outside. We were being generative in our thinking. That kind of thing is encouraged at HopLab.
Yeah.
Like, just there are different ways to have those meetings and those conversations. I don't need to be on a Zoom. I don't need to be on a call. They're just to get something done at a desk. There are other ways to invigorate the way that you do what you need to do
Yeah.
in
And
your life and in your job.
I love that you pointed out the fact of the community helping you out. That goes beautifully with our next question. How can we as a community provide opportunities for others to take advantage of, taking time out for ourselves as a community, or when it comes to Hope Lab, providing opportunities for others? What are some opportunities you find that are in your neighborhood or your community or your friend group in general?
One is acknowledging. Actually, when I heard that, one of the things that I do is I notice. So I'd say, well, I've noticed that you're distracted or you're tense about something. Do you want to take a moment and talk about that? So instead of being methodical about what we need to get done, that will get done. We can say, hey, either at the beginning or at the end, do we need to clear some space here? Would it be easy for you to just have a chat with me? Or how might I free up some time for you to take care of you? We Is that what you mean? Is that the question that you're having? Um,
Mhm.
Sorry, I got a mess. I was like, I can't see you. I like seeing you. So, um, and then what are the
I,
other
I
ways?
feel as if when it comes to building a community around each other, we have to hold each other accountable and provide opportunities for each other, because it's not just all about us all the time. So we have to take the extra step to build a bigger and better future for our community. So I was wondering for opportunities that you find in your community or your friend groups that hold you accountable when it comes to being intentional with your time.
People are always very good about actually having me focus because I'm one of these people who is a giver. So I
Mhm.
don't know if you listen to Adam Grant, who there in life there are givers and takers.
Okay.
And so I'm one of those people who is a constant giver, and friends often remind me, you should take some time to do what you want to do, asking the question of others, what is it that you want to do and what's holding you back? We do a practice of sort of an inquiry based thing. So, well, what are you most interested in? How are you doing that? How are you making the space for that? I think I do that, by the way. I do it at work. I definitely do it in our friend group. Do it with my children. Like, it's just a sort of it's a non-judgmental way of just
Ingrained.
walking into a conversation. exactly. So let's see, for community, so how would I define the community? Right now, it has been a challenge because we have been fairly protected in regard to protecting how much we are expanding into the community. What we have done is saying we know that that's happening. So those hours where I said for people to take time to during COVID for family issues, it's also a community-based initiative. So if you want to go and work um, to care for people, to care for the elderly, which is a bit of a challenge right now, but to for food service, for things that are in the community services, we allow for that. I have to say that I have not actually done a lot of community-based work. I've done family and friend-based work at the moment. And you're pointing out, oh, I should be doing more of that.
It's
What I
always
have done,
because we're kind of secluded from community and society because we're trying to keep ourselves safe. Though I think HubLab does a good job though of building community through online and through social media and through our products and whatnot. So it's not always about physically being outside because we're taking
sure,
advantage of new ways. We're in the 21st century now, so there's always a way to be part of the community without actually um, providing a touch point that's outside.
that is correct. Actually, one of the biggest things that we do, thank you for that reminder, is that we have created digital communities where people can be seen and heard. So, many of our products we do for college students, we try to build challenges both digitally and virtually and in real life about how people connect. We have done that for LGBTQ community. We're actually at the start of actually building that kind of concept for the LGBTQ community.
Yeah.
Um, and we had done that actually in a different kind of way for adolescents and young adults with cancer, building their resiliency in regard to post treatment entering back into their world. That is the concept behind Hope Lab: is how might you actually look at everyone faces adversity, but how might you build upon the bright spots in your life so that you can overcome those adverse conditions by focusing on three different things.
Yeah.
One, the purpose. What is it that is really meaningful to you and that you can connect to? Connection. Who else in the world is equally interested in that kind of concept? And control. How is it that we can manage to be connected and to be purposeful together? So purpose, connection, control to us are the tenets of resiliency. People call it purpose, connection, agency. It's the same sort of thing, but it's us trying to actually build the capacity for others to connect. So I have two adolescent children, one 15 and one 18, and they are completely online. My daughter's freshman year of high school has been completely online. And she's like looking forward to the day that she's in person because she wants to meet the kids who she doesn't even know yet.
Mhm.
But she has built connection with those kids online. And we have done a neighborhood meetup where we're in Golden Gate Park and we are appropriately distanced. They're all getting to see each other and understanding they're all facing the same issues. Everyone thinks that I'm totally unique, and there are unique qualities about everyone. However, those particular challenges that they're facing are not unique. They are similar, and that commonality builds that connection for her, for my son, for even ourselves.
Mhm. And I think that we often forget how common it is to feel like we're not being intentional with our time or our energy and doing enough for ourselves because a lot of us are dealing with those same issues behind closed doors. So before we end this conversation, are there any final tips that you can share with viewers when it comes to providing yourself enough time to be yourself and giving yourself the proper amount of energy and make intention with your days?
Um, some tips that have helped me is when I wake up in the morning, I don't immediately get up. I start to think through, um, how do you want the day to be? Like, what do you want to, how might you be intentional about what you want to get done, how you want it to be? So, one of the things that I would say, and I don't think I do it enough, is what do I want to get done is a doing thing. How do I want to be is what I would love to focus on more. I always talk about being my best self. So there are times where, you walk away from something and say, I could have done that slightly differently. And you need to actually allow, everyone does, right? But how do you have compassion to yourself and say, wow, my better self would have handled this, and remember that next time. So that's the be part. So how do I want to be? What do I want in my life? And what am I doing about it? So it's funny that you asked this question. I have been reflecting over the past 2 weeks, just prior to the Thanksgiving holiday, about what was 2020 like relative to the vision I had for myself in 2019 about what 2020 would mean for me. And I did some amazing things in regard to putting myself out in different challenges, um, sort of being slightly differently than I was in the prior year. And I started to say, how do I build upon that? And what other things might I want to manifest for myself in 2021? And so one of the funny things is I want to say no more.
Mhm.
I want to say no because I'm such a helper that my constant answer is yes, I can do that, and I may be expending my energy. You only have a finite amount of energy. Everyone talks about time, but time is one element. Energy is another one. Right?
And I was agreeing with you. You don't want to overextend yourself to everybody and always saying yes and yes and yes. You have no energy for yourself at the end of the day.
Right. And you want to say the yes to the things that feed you, right? That you walk away from. I think I've had a conversation with you before that there are things that you do that at the end of it, you're like, I got through that. And then there are things that you do that were the same. Walk away and like, I'm pumped. This is great.
Yeah.
And how do I do more of that? It's focusing on those things and creating more of that. That's what I want. When I say I want to say no to things, it's about taking the things that are less, that are depleting of my energy and increasing things that are increasing my energy. So if I had one thing to say to someone is really focus on the things that energize you and feed you
Yes.
and prioritize that in your life.
That's a great tip. I'm gonna definitely. I already started to implement that in my life through our past conversation. So I hope viewers at home learned something from this conversation because you gave out nothing but tips, and I love the stories you shared as well. Thank you so much for the conversation, Dan.
Well, thank you very much for asking me. Thank you.
All right, have a great day. Okay.
You too.